Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. Good times for all. There's Zachary Zabala here if you prefer. We're gonna go over some learnings on seeds again today. This is an amazing book. I think I've covered it in about 4 or 5 videos now. We've been just going through it over every. Gonna cover all the plants in here. I've been learning so much. I've been an avid gardener for just about a decade now, and I've learned so much from this book this year. It's The Complete Guide to Saving Seeds by Story Publishing, Storey. 322 vegetables, herbs, flowers, fruits, trees, and shrubs. And it is just stacked with information. I have learned quite a bit from this book, and I've checked a lot of the stuff that I've read in here, and I find the information in a lot of other places. So yeah, I just love this book. I'm so glad I picked it up. I believe we left off with corn last week, which was very, very interesting. I learned a lot of stuff I didn't know, and I grew up in Indiana where corn is everywhere. It's just everywhere. Oh, we got some good ones today. And we're going to start it off with corn salad. Haven't really ever tried to grow corn salad. It's part of the valerian family, which I've not covered yet. Anything from the valerian family yet in any of the videos. Hey, Nachiketa. What's up, brother? Hey, Daz. How you guys doing? Hope you're having a beautiful day wherever and whenever you are. I'm gonna let me grab Nachiketa here real quick. There you go, brother. Just in case we don't want anybody accidentally timing you out there. So yeah, the valerian family. Um, Also known as lamb's lettuce or Mache. A lot of plants have different names depending on your area. People call them different things. So it's a part of the valerian family. It's an annual, so it has a shorter lifespan. You don't get to keep the plant going all the way through the winter. Was that Savage? Hold on one sec. I think that was Savage. That was. How we doing, cuz? Thanks for dropping by, man. Yeah, again, it's an annual. It'll live out its life cycle through one season, and then that'll be it. You can it'll mature, and you can collect your seeds all in 1 year. Seed viability, 5 years. That's one of the longer ones that we've seen so far. Um, but again, seed viability, there have been stories where seeds last much, much longer than that. I'm really going to get into the the mysteries of pyramids, the magical powers they possess, possibly. I haven't tested it, so I don't want to speak on it as if I know it. But I know there's a group of Russian scientists that have been building a pyramid city. I believe it's about 25 miles northwest of Moscow. And when the Soviet Union collapsed back in the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of these scientists were out of work. They didn't have projects that they had to work on. So they started really getting into the pyramids and using that shape to harness certain energies. And these energies, they have very mysterious properties. Now, I've heard of sticking dull razor blades underneath a pyramid and the pyramid resharpening, like realigning everything. And I don't know how it works. I've heard of putting all kinds of things. So I thought, hey, what if we put seeds in there and they somehow preserve the seeds for much longer or purified the seeds in some way? So it's definitely something I want to look into. So when they say they give you the years of how long a seed will last, I don't know. That's something I don't want to make any definitive statements on. So we're talking corn salad now. Liz, on a bus. Well, I hope your driver is sober and safe today, Liz. May your travels be merry and safe. So the flowering of the corn salad. Corn salad bears inconspicuous flowers in head-like kinds that are quick to set seed. So these seed very quickly. This species can self-sow and become weedy in some areas. So this is one of those things that you can plant and it'll just start taking over in some areas. Now, if you want to try to keep the seeds heirloom or the exact same as that last plant, which is not an easy task to do. I've never tried it. But it's something I plan on trying in the future. Varieties of corn salad will cross by insect pollination among themselves and some wild and with some wild species. Use alternate day caging if more than one variety is grown. And that's all it really says on it. It doesn't give the half mile, 2 mile, anything like that. Um, this one seems to be, or at least have, the least requirements. So if you did want to try to practice, remember it's always practicing. If you want to try to get an heirloom, this would be a good one to start, I believe, to try to, hey Ted, how we doing, brother? Yeah, the corn salad. This might be a good one to try and start off with, as it really, the requirements are a lot less. Again, it's insect pollinated, so you do have to be somewhat careful, but check your area, see if you have any wild species of this growing around, and if you don't, I don't know, I've never met anybody to grow corn salad, also known as lamb's lettuce, but or mache, M-A-C-H-E. So this might be a good one to try. Talk to your neighbors, see if they're growing it. It does say it is pollinated by insects, so I mean insects do travel. So collecting these seeds, the seed collection of corn salad. The fruit are dry and indehiscent. Pull entire plants and place them in a pillowcase. Shake to release the seed. So you pull out the whole entire plant when you're collecting seeds. And then you just shake it. It doesn't say to strike it up against anything or bang it on anything or to strike the plant. You just have to shake it. Let the plants dry further in the bag and repeat. Now that's the first time we've ever heard that. So you leave it in the bag and shake it again some more. It doesn't give any amount of time. Usually this book is very thorough on how many weeks and this and that. This allow the seeds to further dry in a warm location for a few more days before storage. Yeah, I'd never even really heard of corn salad, so it's weird that this would be the one that doesn't have as much information. Seed cleaning, it doesn't say anything about water. This is the quickest one for that. It just says winnow extra plant material. So you remove it from all the other plant material. Okay, germination. Optimal soil temperature for germination of corn salad seeds is 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 to 21 degrees Celsius. Again, that's all it says about it. Transplanting. This species is usually sown in place. So you usually put the seeds directly into the ground to let it grow. I'm going to have to look for some of this. I've never even seen a corn salad in a seed package. Something I'll definitely have to check out. And that is all it says about corn salad. Wasn't too thorough. Um, I don't know, maybe the lack of really being used cut down on the information. So yeah, that's it for corn salad. That one was kind of blah. It's a plant I'm definitely gonna have to look into more. Next one is going to be garden cress, or some people will call it upland cress. Now we've covered quite a few of these. This is part of the mustard family, and it says it's an annual. Let me. Are all mustard family? I know we've. What other ones have we covered? We've covered a few more of these already. Parsley family, sunflower family, legume. Okay, mustard family. Now see, this one is a mustard family, the collards, and it's a biennial. So cress, even though it is part of the mustard family, it's an annual, they say. So even when they're in that same family, um, it doesn't actually have to be all that similar. Oh wow, somebody's driving by. This is like the I don't know, we've been here 20 days, and this is maybe the 6th or 7th time I've seen someone drive by. I love giving a wave. It's nice being back in a rural area where you don't feel crazy for waving. Now again, cress is a very small one, very short. This is another one of those I've never tried to grow. Awesome, Ted. The loofahs are growing. Yeah, I tried to grow loofahs. Actually, if you didn't know, people, you can actually grow a plant that will have a sponge inside of it, and you can use it just like a loofah. They're amazing. I couldn't get them to grow up in, I know, isn't it, Daz? Time is just, it's weird. But I couldn't get them to grow up in northern Indiana. It didn't have a long enough season. I tried starting them indoors and everything like that, but I didn't have enough sunlight. Um, and it's a vine. It's really hard to, once they start growing, you can't really bring them inside unless you have them in a big pot with something with a lattice in it. And I was growing them along the fence. But yeah, I could get gourds to grow up there, but the loofah plants I couldn't. And they make a beautiful flower, but I'm really interested in to see the structure of this loofah. So I can't wait for next year. I actually have some seeds for these plants still. Take care, Liz. Love you, ma'am. Have a wonderful day. If I don't see you before Tuesday, I will see you then. So the garden cress. Again, mustard family, but an annual this time. This is the first time we've seen the mustard family be considered an annual, which means, again, you can plant it in the spring and harvest seeds that fall or that season. You don't have to let it go a full year to get that shoot to come up and actually produce seeds. Seed viability, 5 years. Again, I would question that, test that. Spacing for seed saving, 2 to 3 feet. Now I'm sure since it is some type of lettuce, usually you can plant them very close together. But again, when you want to plant to save seeds, you don't want to hinder that plant at all. You don't cut from that plant. There are certain ones they say you can, but most of them you leave that plant alone and you allow it to be as strong as possible, and you give it lots of room so nothing is stealing the sunlight, its sunlight. I don't want to say stealing, but hindering its sunlight maybe consumption. You really want the plant to be have lots of space and lots of room to spread out its roots and get as big and strong as possible. So your seeds that you're going to be collecting will then, transfer that into it. Flowering of the garden cress. The inconspicuous, perfect white or greenish flowers are borne in racemes and are cross-pollinated. So it's a perfect flower. It has the male and the female parts of the flower. Isolation requirements. Crossing between varieties is possible due to insect visitation. Haven't seen them use that in that phrase before, but isolation information is not available. Wow. So this probably wouldn't be one that you would want to start with. It may be difficult. I don't know. Maybe you could be the first person to gather data. I'll have to look into garden cress as well. So I'm gonna have to do some corn salad and garden cress. I got to look into these plants a little bit more. There really isn't a whole lot of information in here on these. Seed collection and cleaning. The fruits are short, broad silicles. Collect and clean the seeds as you would turnip seeds. See the turnip entry for details. Okay, we'll get into turnips later. Optimum soil temperature for germination is 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 to 16 degrees Celsius. Cress is not transplanted. Wow. Sometimes they say, it could be transplanted, this and that, but this one is saying, sometimes they say most people do it this way, direct sowing, but this one says cress is not transplanted. And isolation information is not available. Wow. Now that makes me want to think that there's something to these plants. That's just me though. Now I can go right to the turnip and we can do turnips if you'd like. I know some people do grow turnips. I never did. I don't mind growing radishes, but I don't eat radishes, but I know people that eat radishes. I don't know that many people that were eating turnips up north, so I didn't grow too many. We can go to the cucumber, which would be next, or I could do the turnip if you'd like to learn about the seed collection and cleaning of garden cress. Again, not one of those I've really come across too many times in seed packets or anything like that. I mean, I've heard of cress before, but I've never really seen it anywhere. All right, we'll go straight to the cucumber then, Daz. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I love cucumbers, pickles, all those, the family. It's one of my favorites. I just love, gathering the fruit and maybe running it off with a hose or some water and then eating it right there, just like that. It's one of those that is one of my favorites. I've had a lot of luck growing these. So the cucumber, it is part of the squash family, and it is an annual. Again, you can plant it in the spring and gather the seeds in the fall. You don't have to wait you don't have to get a nice cold spell to set its next stage. 5 years for seed viability. Again, I always question things like that. And save seeds from at least six cucumbers from 6 plants. So you want 6 different cucumber plants. We'll see what they say about seed collection, because 6 cucumber plants is going to take up some room. And if you have to let them, give them, I don't know, we'll see how big of an area it says to give them. Because usually I give my cucumbers at least a 4 foot by 4 foot square. And they definitely usually get outside of that, but I plant them all together and I kind of keep them growing. I guide them, you know, to not overcross and not get too compact in there. If you have a really good year, it's hard to stop that. But yeah, the more attention and the more you you keep them able to grow, the better they do. So I've had gardens that were completely full. You couldn't see the ground pretty much. I think that one was like a 12-foot by 24-foot garden, and you couldn't see. Oh, nice, yeah, 5 square meters. Yeah, they'll, like I said, they can take that. They can take up that space, for sure. Um, yeah, they're amazing plants, and you can get a lot of fruit off one plant. So the flowering of the cucumber. Cucumber plants are usually monoecious with immature flowers, so they don't have the male and the female parts. Um, Male flowers appear first, and plants usually produce more male flowers than female. Though male flowers appear first in the season, female flowers are more numerous than the male flowers at the end of the season. So don't be discouraged if your plants do not produce from every flower, or even most of your flowers, especially at first. Most of those plants are going to be male. So even though there's a flower there, it won't start producing that little fruit in between the flower and the stem. Um, Plants may also be gynoecious, all female, or andromonosis, male and have perfect flowers. Andronosis, all male, and hermaphroditic, all perfect flowers. Wow, so the cucumber is a very, I've never seen them talk like this about the flowering. The cucumber is the first one I've and we've covered quite a few of the squash family already. And it seems the cucumber, the same plant, can, each flower can be different. Like it can have all kinds of different types of flowers. Yeah, I mean, it could be perfect, have male and female. It could be all female. It could be male only, but still have the perfect flowers, or just all male, or it could have all perfect flowers. And it's not saying anything about different types. Oh, here we go. Cucumber fruits may also be seedless. And it's got a couple big words. Parthenocarpic gynosis. And it's not possible to save seeds from such varieties. Be sure you know which sexual type you are planting. So there's probably a lot, like I said, there's quite a few different types of cucumbers. Uh, a pickle is really a cucumber. Um, so be sure you know which type of cucumbers you're planting. I've never even looked into that. Hey, just another fool, welcome. Um, so the isolation requirements for a cucumber. Yeah, isn't it, Daz? I was thinking the same thing. Isn't the Baphomet supposed to? Are the stems different? Let's see. Well, it says they usually have imperfect flowers. So, what was that, Daz? Let's see. We're going to go back to the flowers real quick, and we'll just go over that. What these are all meaning when they, say the male, the female, the perfect, the imperfect. But yeah, the Baphomet is supposedly, you know, male and female. And it's weird how they call that the perfect. Okay. Perfect flower has both male and female parts, but may not have all the non-sexual parts. Such flowers are also called bisexual or hermaphroditic. Perfect flowers are not necessarily self-fertile, just like the cucumber. They may not be able to fertilize themselves and produce seed. Many plants with perfect flowers are self-sterile and thus require pollen from another plant in order to fertilize, for fertilization to occur. So you're asking about what they kind of look like and if you can tell. Now you have your male part, which will most likely grow out of the center of the stem, and then you'll have your, yeah, the male is the one stem coming out of the center. The female won't have that center stem and will have the little things that are holding the seeds. So you'll see the seed thing there, but you won't see that center part. And then the perfect one will have the little stem in the center with the little seeds coming off to the edges. Um, Now I'm gonna have to do some looking into this really, because I've never really, I've grown different types of cucumbers, but I never really knew all of this. This is really interesting. I'm gonna have to dig a lot deeper into the cucumber. Yeah, it's got. I really need to start learning all the plant words. Um, I like to try to keep things to be able to say it so everybody can understand it, as if I were speaking to a child. Not that I think I'm, speaking to ignorant people and by any means. It's just I want to be able to teach children this as well. If a child is watching, I don't want to be going and using all a bunch of big words that will confuse them. Um, Maybe the next video will be nothing but going over the front of the book and going over all the different terms and words and things like that. I think that'd be a good one. Yeah, I think that'd be a, because I mean, I've read it once, but I'd like to really soak that kind of stuff in. Yeah, simple as, yeah, if you can't explain it to a child, then you really don't comprehend it, you know. If you can't make it simple, then knowing, I think it's, yeah, I know it is. Walter Lewin, one of my favorite quotes of his is, if you only know the name, then you know nothing. And yeah, you don't really comprehend. That's why all these physicists today, all these PhD, they don't comprehend what's going on around them. They can regurgitate what they read in a book, word for word. They do that very well. But actually comprehending what is going on, that's how they've been fooled so bad, because they don't really comprehend what they're saying. And they've never really given it that serious thought. So when something comes up that is impossible in the realms of physics, say, i.e., the ionosphere, they don't even question it because their little equation that they were taught says it's possible now. Even if the equations contradict themselves, like Gauss' law of static electricity, and Ampere's law, they contradict themselves in Maxwell's equation. And over 100 years, I only found 3 people who ever brought this to anyone's attention. So yeah, that goes to show that not many of these supposed intellectuals that are educated actually comprehend what's actually going on. So the isolation requirements of a cucumber plant. Now again, the isolation, just, you want to keep this an heirloom. Ooh, there's a little yellow jacket. How you doing today, friend? You having a good day? All right. Okay, sorry folks. I was just saying hi. Isolation requirements mean that you want to keep it somewhat heirloom. You would like this plant, you love the flavor of that plant, or you really love the size of it. or whatever you loved about that plant. You want to keep that plant the same. Um, this is a way to try to do that. Again, I've never done this. It seems kind of anti-natural to me, not going with, how it is. So but I would like to try it just to see if I can. I've cross-pollinated quite a few things. I've gathered seeds from pepper plants that turned out some really weird peppers, jalapenos and banana peppers mixed. But yeah, I've never done it on purpose. So isolation requirements for the cucumber. All varieties and types of cucumbers will intercross, but cucumbers will not cross with melons or squash. Again, it's part of the squash family, but you'll need more than one cucumber plant most of the time. Now this one's saying will not, okay, all variety and types of cucumbers will intercross, but cucumbers will not cross with melons. Okay. If you're growing more than one variety, or if your neighbors are growing cucumbers, you'll want to hand pollinate to ensure seed purity. Follow the hand pollination instructions on page 29, but note that cucumber vines tend to abort their fruit during drought or high temperatures. So don't attempt hand pollinating during hot, dry spells. Recommended isolation distance is 1.5 miles. Yeah, I've seen cucumbers, they can look pretty rough in the mid-hot summer days when it's real hot and that sun's beating on them. It'll have the stem that's sticking up, and the whole, you could have a leaf well bigger than my hand, and the whole thing will be drooping down and just laying there. And why they do that is, they don't need any more sunlight right now. It's hot, they're being overworked, and so they're kind of hiding their leaves, just like a tree. Every once in a while, you'll see the trees, and they'll turn their leaves over, and you'll see a lot of the what are they? The white maple or the silver maple up north. They'll turn their leaves, the silver side, to the sun to reflect the sunlight and not absorb it. So plants have different ways of, you know, kind of turning off the sun and trying not, like when we get super hot out in the sun, we'll shade ourselves and cut off that sunlight a little bit. That's kind of what they do. But instead, they have to hide themselves from the sun without moving, which is not as easy. I mean, we can go walk under shade. Um, there's not too many plants I've heard of that walk. I know there is one I know of. Go look into that. That's pretty neat. They have time lapses. Now I'd like to do it myself just to make sure, because there's been lots of stuff and they're only found on certain islands. I believe it's out in the Pacific, but it's called the walking palm, and they have a enormous giant root system that just keeps growing new roots, and the new roots will grab forward where the way they want to move. And the reason they're moving is because a canopy has grown over the top of them, and now they're trying to get to a new place that has sun. And the front roots in the direction they want to grab go into the ground, and the back roots let go. And they can move, I believe it's up to 2 centimeters a day, um, which might make it one of the fastest or the fastest plant in the world. Just saying. So yeah, look into it. It's pretty neat. I'd like to go see it for myself just to verify. It sounds kind of wild and out there, but there are walking trees. So yeah, isolation requirements, at least 1.5 miles, and it says to hand pollinate if you're going to try to do this. The collection. Now this is a really neat part. This is what really got my interest into this book so much. This was the first one I looked at. Um, Seed collection. Select large, overripe fruit for seed saving. Overripe. So you don't want them to be green still. And allow them to ripen on or off the vine in a cool, dry place for at least 5 weeks after eating stage. until they have turned yellow, white, orange, or brown in color, the cucumber type, and have softened. So you see up here you have a nice, well, it's starting to just turn a little white at the end. That one would be, you'd pick that and you'd eat that right there. But these are yellow and soft, and that's what you gather your seeds from. Those types of plants right there. That's what you want your cucumber. Hey, what's up, Mr. Corey? Much love, brother. Glad you could drop by. So yeah, it's 5 weeks after eating stage until they have turned yellow, white, orange, or brown. I've never seen one turn orange. I've seen the white, I've seen the yellow, and I've never seen really brown. So I got to grow some different types of cucumbers. And have softened. You don't want them to be firm at all. In frosty areas of the north, let the vines winter kill to reveal the fruits. So you wait till the vine is pretty much, fallen over and dead. It'll actually fall off the fruit. Select what you want and store them in a cool, dry place for several more weeks to complete their ripening. So at least another month. Wow. So 5 weeks after you eat them, you select the ones you want and you store them in a cool, dry place for several more weeks to complete their ripening. Seed cleaning of the cucumber plant. You extract the seed from the fruit by scooping them out and rinsing them off or fermenting them as described under pulpy fruits on page 44. The seed treatment. Prior to planting, hold cucumber seeds in 100, this doesn't sound right to me. I'll read it again for you guys. I've read it whenever it says it, but this just doesn't ring true with me. And I've never had a lot of issues with seed-borne diseases. But prior to planting, hold cucumber seeds in 122 degrees Fahrenheit or 50 degrees Celsius water for 20 minutes to control those seed-borne diseases, if they are an issue in your garden. Germination of the cucumber. Germination and emergence are limited by low temperatures. Do not plant before the soil has reached at least 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 16 degrees Celsius. It has an F behind it, but I'm sure they mean Celsius. To 95 degrees Fahrenheit or 35 degrees Celsius. That's the maximum optimal soil temperature for planting cucumbers. Freshly collected cucumber seeds may have a dormancy that must be broken by storage for at least 84 days. Now that's a new one. They've never really said that. Hey, I think that was a whole plant that you had to keep in a cool place in order for it to sprout next year. So yeah, this is the first time I think they've mentioned that the seed must lay dormant for at least 84 days in order for it to be ready to germinate. Interesting. Transplanting. Cucumbers may be transplanted to the garden for earlier production. I usually always transplant my cucumbers. I've bought many in the little sprouts, and then I've grown my own from seed. And it's an easy transplant. It's really, it's a hardy stem. The stem is real thick and strong right from out of the seed. So you can give it a much longer growing season if, you have a shorter growing season. You can grow it indoors, just in a warm place and let it get that sunlight. And you can get a whole extra month out of the growing season by starting it off indoors. And they transplant really nice. Just make sure you do it after the last frost, because the frost will kill them. It'll kill a lot of the baby plants. A lot of the lettuces, they'll be all right, radishes, stuff like that. Potatoes would be fine. But the cucumbers, They don't like a frost. And it doesn't say that in here, I just know that from experience. Um, Now again, when you're transplanting, take care not to disturb the roots, as the root tips do not regenerate easily. It says to use a fiber pot or the fiber pellets or other types of pots that will decompose when buried. Allow about 4 weeks to grow. Good, like I said, you can do it a month. And it says to at least allow a month to get a nice, good, healthy plant that can withstand it. I like to grab soil that I'm going to be planting in. We'll start the transplants in that. Again, I use plastic. Um, it's more durable, easier to water, stuff like that. I don't like to water from the top. I always water from the bottom. And a month of water in the bottom of those things. I've tried the ones that decompose, and they just kind of start to decompose a little bit early. Because I like to keep my plants with lots of water. Um, but I always water from the bottom. I'll have a tray, and then I set my little plant holders, the little squares, and I'll set them in the tray, and then I always water the tray. If you water from the top, the plant doesn't have to reach down into the soil. It doesn't have to grow its roots to get the water. The roots are just straight being watered from the top, and you'll get bigger, stronger roots if they need to stretch down into the soil and and go find it. Um, so yeah, I recommend always watering at least your transplants from the bottom. Even even my big giant plants that I had, my mother-in-law's tongues and my Japanese peace lily and all those things I had back in Indiana. I had 18 indoor plants, and I always watered all of them from the tray. There were two trees that didn't have the tray underneath the bottom, and I would water those from the top. But the plants, I definitely always water from the bottom in a tray. Let's see. So yeah, allow about 4 weeks to grow good transplants. If you want to grow them indoors, at least give them a month before you really disturb the roots. And when you go to transplant, you may have a bunch of roots, stuck all inside of your pot. When you go to pull it out, and you'll see a bunch of white, the roots will look like little strings all wrapped around each other. Um, get your hands nice and dirty. Take that dirt that you're using and rub it in. You have oils on your hands, and you definitely do not want to touch the uh, the roots with that. So get your hands nice and dirty. Get it all down in every little crack, or wear gloves. I prefer to do it with my hands and get that interaction with it. But make sure your hands are real dirty. Don't worry, it all washes off. It'll be okay. But yeah, get it down in there. Get your hands real dirty so the oils on your hands do not stop the root from growing. Like it says, it's very delicate, the root system, and once you hurt it tends not to, those roots tend not to grow any further. And that is it for the cucumber plant. Again, I'm going to have to do some more digging in on different types of cucumbers, and I'll relay some of that information to you. Um, but yeah, cucumbers, there's lots of different types, and like we covered earlier, they can be totally different from the other cucumber plant that you're growing in your garden. Just amazing. Never knew. Next, we have, what are we at? 45 minutes now? Okay, we'll do one more. We're going to do the eggplant. Mad apple, melangine, or aubergine. I've never heard eggplants called that before. Again, Piedmont Farms. I remember going through there. I probably have seen all these before because that Piedmont Farms here in South Carolina, I believe they're in the Spartanburg area. Oh, excuse me, my nose is itching. They're in the, Oof, I don't know what that was. The Spartanburg area, and they ship all over the country. I don't get any, kickbacks or anything like that for mentioning them, but it's a family-run business. It's been in the generation for, or in the family for 3 generations now, I believe. Um, well, the third generation, I believe, is working there. I know his children were working there. Real nice guy. He's there all the time, every day. His wife works there, and it's got all kinds of seed. I think it was 200 tomato plants, 120 pepper plants. I saw all different kinds of eggplants and just crazy amounts of all these. And they will ship seeds to you. They'll ship, you know, all kinds of stuff. Piedmont Farms in South Carolina, the Spartanburg area. I believe it's Piedmont. There might be an E on the end. I'm not 100%, but yeah, if you like supporting local businesses and you can't find one in your area to get your seeds, they are all non-GMO. They have lots of heirloom, and they seem like really, really good people. So that's why I like to shout out things like that when you find them, especially ones that'll ship anywhere in the continental United States where the shipping is free. So if you're looking for a good place to get started, Piedmont Farms, check them out. So the eggplant is part of the nightshade family. It's a perennial grown as an annual, just like the tomato. So in the northern places, excuse me, where it gets cold, um, that can kill the plant, but it can live for many years if you give it its sunlight and keep it from freezing. I grew a pepper plant for 3 years, and you just have to give it enough light. It has to have the light in the wintertime, because a lot of plants, it's not just cold temperatures, things like that. The certain plants, they need a certain amount of sunlight. They wouldn't naturally live, in this area, most likely, per se. That's why you don't see a lot of wild pepper plants growing in northern North America, at least. I've never seen any growing out in the wild. Um, and I look at a lot of vegetation and stuff like that. So it's something you can grow as an annual, but it really is a perennial. It'll live more years if it has the conditions that it needs to do so. The flowering. Okay, wait, it's seed viability, 4 years. Again, I question all those types of things. Um, and you want to save seeds from at least 6 different types of plants. The flowering, eggplant flowers are perfect and primarily self-pollinating. So they have a male and a female, and the flower itself can pollinate itself and make the fruit. Isolation requirements. Insect pollination of eggplant may occur. Different varieties will cross-pollinate. If cross-pollination is a concern, cage the plants from which you plan to save seeds. Recommended isolation distance is 1/4 mile. So again, they cross-pollinate with other types. If you want to keep isolation, you want to keep that plant that you have, you want to heirloom that plant, you would then try to, it says to cage it. It doesn't say to alternate day cage. It says to straight cage the plant. And it says insect pollination may occur. So it doesn't need insects to pollinate it. So it'll pollinate itself just from shaking or the wind hitting it. Yes, correct. Yeah, a cucumber plant, it can have perfect flowers, but they will not self-pollinate. Very good, Daz. Again, quarter mile. That's the shortest one we've seen so far. Usually it's a half mile to 2 miles. Um, so this one's saying to straight cage the plant. Exactly, Daz. Uh, Seed collection. From a botanical standpoint, okay, this is the first time we've heard them use this phrase. An eggplant fruit is a fleshy berry, and the majority of the flesh is placenta, in which the seeds are embedded. Save seeds from eggplants at the eating stage is usually not viable. So this is nightshade family, but it's not like the tomato. You don't grab it when it's ripe and edible and then gather the seeds right away. As eggplant passes the edible stage, the skin dulls and turns brown, yellow, or orange. When fully ripe, the eggplant fruit will be hard and will fall from the plant. Hold the fruit for about 2 additional weeks before proceeding. So wait till the eggplant actually falls off the plant and then hold it for 2 weeks. If you have a long growing season, it's okay to harvest some fruits for eating from the plant before allowing the remainder to over-ripen on the plant for seed. Gardeners in short season areas will want to save the first fruits for seeds to select for early ripening. So if you have a nice long season, again, this is kind of like the tomato. You don't have to baby these plants so much. You can pull the fruit, wait for a later fruit, to over ripen and gather seeds from that. Um, okay. There's been the nightshade family seems to be more of the plant that you can still gather fruit from it, at least the ones we've covered so far. And it really doesn't affect the seed gathering of that plant so much. Um, Seed cleaning and storage. I know, Notch, me either, man. I've loved them so much, and I've worked with them for about a decade now, and yeah, I know nothing about. that's that's true wisdom right there. To know that you just don't know anything about anything. We really don't. Um, yeah. Gosh, we are such children still. Whew. At least I am. I know. Wow. There are a few ways to separate eggplant seeds from the placenta material. You can scoop the seeds with a spoon into a bowl with water and rub between your hands to separate the seeds. Or you can use a coarse grater to grate the bottom of the fruit into a bowl with water and rub between your hands to separate the seeds. Still, another option is to cut the seeded part of the fruit into cubes and put them into a blender with water. Ugh, I don't know if I want to do that. Um, Pretty much, it's a hardy seed, though, I'm sure. They wouldn't tell you to do that if it wasn't. Give it a few short pulses, then allow the good seeds to settle. You may need to repeat with fresh water. Whichever method you choose, the seeds that sink will have the greatest viability. Now, we've heard this before multiple times. Pour off the extra plant material. Put the good seeds into a strainer and rinse. Then drain and place on a paper screen in a warm, ventilated area to dry. Stir them daily so they don't stick together. When completely dry, store in a cool, dry location. So you want it warm and dry until they're completely dry and don't stick together. When it's completely dry, then you move it to a cool, dry location. Seed treatment. Prior to planting, hold eggplant seed in the hot water. I'll read it out. 122 degrees Fahrenheit or 50 degrees Celsius. Water for 25 minutes for control of seed-borne diseases. Yeah, I bet, Notch. Um, that's why when I went to learn about this kind of stuff, about gardening and everything, I went straight to the source. I went to gardeners in my neighborhood and some of them I just went and knocked on their door, and and would just say a lot of them in Indiana. I doubt it's like that everywhere. I mean, some of the older women were the gardeners. Don't get me wrong, um, but a lot of the gardeners up there were men, and a lot of them were older. I would go, you'd have your farmers and then you have your gardeners. Some of them were big gardens, and they just grow different things. A lot of the farmers, they might grow two different crops, but most of the time they grow one crop. Where a gardener, he grows, multiple usually. But I would go and knock on these people's door when I saw a beautiful garden that was well taken care of and had big, hardy, strong plants. And every single one of them was so nice. I have never been turned away by a gardener. That's not saying that some gardeners aren't assholes. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But I personally have never been turned away by going up to someone's door, knocking, and just asking them, just telling them, hey, this is a beautiful garden you have. Um, if you have a second, I'd just like to ask you some of the things that you do to get your garden so beautiful. It's and they're full of knowledge, these people, and and it's just years and years and years and years of practice and knowing these plants, and I learned so much just from talking to these people. And a lot of it isn't stuff like this, so much the science part of it, but it's more about the things that they put into the plants. Not so much, things that always work, but things that the intuitions that they got. The ideas that came from the ether to them. Those are the ones I really like to learn. And yeah, you're exactly right, Notch. These are some of the most well, not educated, I don't want to say educated, the most intelligent people when it comes to this stuff, because they've actually done it. Again, we could all be physicists and read from books and regurgitate it and sound smart. Or you can actually go out and test things and apply it and find the best way to do things and then share that knowledge with people. And those are the true physicists. Those are the true alchemists right there. We're always practicing. It's always practice. So seed treatment, again, is put it in the water if you have issues with seed-borne diseases. So the germination of the eggplant. Optimum range for soil temperature for germination. Wow, this is one of the highest ones we've seen so far. So don't plant eggplants early. If you're in a northern place, make sure the soil temperature, again, you can get a soil temperature thermometer under $20. They're not too expensive. Is 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 27 to 32 degrees Celsius. Minimum soil temperature for setting out transplants is 66 degrees Fahrenheit or 19 degrees Celsius. That's for your transplants. If you put your transplants in soil temperature below the mid 60s Fahrenheit or about 20 degrees Celsius, the plant will die. It will not be able to withstand that cold of a soil. So make sure the ground is nice and warm. So this might be one you want to try to grow like in some type of, what are they called? Brain fart. Never mind. Something that, you take a nice big double plane piece of glass and box it in and put your soil in there. That will insulate it and help keep the heat inside there and keep the soil warmer, like on cold nights. Yeah, so transplanting of the eggplant. Eggplants are typically set to the garden as transplants. particularly in the north, as they require a long season. Wow, this is the longest one I've seen so far. Sow seeds 8 to 10 weeks before the plants are to be planted outdoors. So 2 to 2.5 months before you would go and plant this outside where the soil temperature would be warm enough, you want to start it indoors. Very interesting. And remember, keep the soil temperature above 66 degrees Fahrenheit or 19 degrees Celsius minimum, or you'll kill the plant. Let's see. Yeah. So for germination, the optimum soil temperature is 80 to 90 degrees. And when you go to transplant that into the ground, the soil has to be at least 66 degrees, or else the transplant is not going to take. And that is the eggplant. I've never tried to grow eggplant, but it is part of the nightshade family. That's interesting. I did not know that. So you have your tomatoes, your tomatillos, and eggplant so far, part of the nightshade family. And that's going to be the last one for this video. Again, folks, plants are living beings. They respond to the attention that you pay them. If you love your plants, and you keep them safe, you watch over them, you make sure they have everything they need, and you let them know this, even verbally. You know, give it all that love and attention, let's say you would an animal. And it will respond in turn. If you, oh, it's my pleasure, Natch. Yeah, we're probably going to be going over this a lot. But it will respond in turn. That plant will feel all that attention that you gave it, and it will try its hardest to be as big and strong and healthy. And if you create a bond, if you make contact with it, you share your electric fields, your electromagnetic fields, it will know what you need, what you're missing. It will grab things out of the soil in greater quantities than normal that you need. If it's there, it will. That's why I like to take the seeds before I plant my seeds, and I put them under my tongue for about 10 minutes. I create a bond at a very, very early age, and in tune, to say. It knows what I need. It knows my chemical structure of my body and what it's craving. Even though I don't know this stuff, this plant will know this. And it will in turn try to produce more of that for you. You create a symbiotic relationship with these plants. It hurts when you go to cut them. It really does. It's like telling a friend that you love, something wrong that you think they're doing. You don't want to do it. And while you're doing it, it hurts, but it needs to be done for, the next stages of our cycles to continue with a fluid motion. Certain things need to be done. Let it know what your intentions are right from the get. I tend to consume you one day. You and I will become one. It's not about eating it and then flushing out. No, you're going to consume this plant. You're going to grab that energy, and that energy will now be a part of you. And you can really get in tune a lot better with the plants when you spend a lot more time with them. Good early light, Karen. Yeah, I'm just getting ready to wrap up here. I'm just giving my little spiel about, the love and intent that you give to these beautiful beings. Um, they give it right back. They uh, they respond in turn. So love your plants. Spend time with your plants. Even if there's nothing to do in the garden that day, go out there and walk around. Say hello. Touch them. Interact. Change energies. Get that. And yeah, it's going to hurt a little bit when you go to take them down. When you really love and respect them. And that it's a sacrifice. It is a sacrifice that you have to make. Oh, that's awesome, Karen. Yeah, just go spend time with them. They love it. They will, they light up when you're around. They feel you. They know you're there. So go out and spend time with the plant today. Even if you don't have a garden, go hug your tree that's in your yard or close by. Just put hands on it. It's a bond that has been stripped from us, and it's not easy to get it back. I don't. I'm not fully aware of them all the time, even though they're aware of us. As much as I'd like to, my attention doesn't go all to them. But when we're around, I think their attention is always on us. You know. So go out and say hi to your local plants today. Try to remember that they're living and they feel us and they don't want to be ignored. Just like all of us, they want interaction. Yes, and they definitely pick up on your intentions. Yeah, they do have a lot less distractions, Karen. I think that's what a lot of those distractions are for, to keep us from comprehending this world around us, to truly understanding it, which I don't know if anybody understands nature, truly stands under nature in its truest, purest form. Yeah, it's sad. I wonder if I'm beyond that point. I'm just going to give you a quick look at what I'm looking at, and then I'm going to get out of here. Go out and look in the wild areas you're allowed to. Look at the wild vegetables. Where are they at? Oh, the leaves are kind of sagging. They might be hiding. Nope. Right in there. There's two pawpaws hanging. We found these kind of leaves of three. I'll go down there, maybe make a video about it later. I know Cammie was showing them on IRM the other night. But they're wild passion fruit. And you cut them open and they have all those seeds inside, and they're good for juices and stuff like that. They're growing just right here. Nobody planted them. They grow wild. Learn your wild edible plants. Um, yeah, I've been eating lots of clover. There's actually wood sorrel right down there. Um, the clover patches are more or less out in front. I haven't found too many back here. But yeah, there's wild food all around us. Go learn that food out there, because it's so abundant and it's so everywhere, and you can live off of it. You can go out into the woods and live just by knowing a few different types of plants that you can eat. Now, they may not be full of flavor, but they are definitely full of the vitamins and minerals. That soil down there that has been, leaves dropped upon it for decades, and this will be all red clay. I guarantee you go out into those woods and the dense part, and you reach down and that soil will be black. It's gold, folks. It's so rich in nutrients. And I found something out really, really neat here in North South Carolina area. Iodine is very high in the soil. The content of iodine is higher here than anywhere else in the country, which really excites me because that's one of the things I've had to take as a supplement before. I didn't have to, I just started to on intuition, but iodine is here. Yeah, isn't that awesome, Karen? So green beans, strawberries. Get a nice big strawberry patch if you can. They suck that iodine right out of the soil. That's one of those good ones. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Um, God, wouldn't that be such an easy thing to do to help other people in other areas where there is an iodine? Just get some of the soil, some of this clay, this beautiful, all this stuff in here, and just make it like a nice little ground bag that you can fertilize. Use it like a fertilizer. Mix all of the soils that you can, maybe. I don't know. There's so many things we could try. But yes, this soil right here is full of iodine. Full of it. And even though I do like the permaculture idea, I will definitely be taking clay and sprinkling it around my plant like I would a compost or a manure, because it's got all that stuff that your plants crave, that you crave, that your body needs. So yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. We have Glowbusters starting up again this afternoon. Bob's been going over a lot of videos and stuff to share with you, so it should be a fun show. And I'll see you there if you're there. We have Flattoberfest coming up October 24th. Just a little over 2 months away now. Gonna be so awesome. Cami and I will be putting on a little side show type thing where we're going to bring some of our toys and you all can play with them. If you want, you guys can shock me with my Van de Graaff generator. But yeah, this was a fun one. I learned a lot today. We went over again the complete guide to saving seeds. Learned a lot new stuff today. Yeah, I'm going to be going over a lot more of this book. This is the stuff that's taking place right now, learning, gathering our seeds, and being able to live without help from, everyone else. Stuff I should have already known, really. We all should have already known. But let's not dwell on the past, right? This is Good Times for All here, signing out. I love y'all. You have a great day. Thanks for watching.